Okay. Just take a minute to scan your body and see how your feet are on the floor, what's happening. Feel your shoulders. Where's your weight? Just do a bit of a check-in. And then we'll start with short foot today. So we're all the way at the base. Take one foot so that the heel is in line with the toes, not like you're on a balance beam, but just one foot in front of the other. And then 50-50 weight between your feet and bend your knees. Relax your belly, let your butt stick out a little bit. Open up your shoulders. And then double check that your back foot is straight. This is an excellent exercise for anybody that's got stuff happening with their knees. So lift your toes and press your toes down. Not the ball of your foot, just your toes. Not a squinch, but just a press. And do that 20 times. Relax your shoulders. As we find the muscles that are at the bottom of your feet, they start to talk to the muscles that attach up behind the knee. And if you have any tibial torsion or lower leg turn or any ankle collapse, this begins to talk. And if you have some lateral hip stability issues, this also helps to turn on the hamstring compartment and the lateral hip. And it will even talk all the way up your back between your shoulder blades and start to induce a little extension through your upper back. So notice the tendency to want to put your hands like on your hips, let them go so that you can get that change all the way behind the shoulder blade. And then come out of it, switch your feet, make sure your back foot's straight, 50-50 weight between your feet, bend your knees, lift and press your toes down. And go as far into that flexion as you can. Lift and press. I've worked with a couple people that have bone-on-bone knees and given them this exercise, and it's pretty creaky in those knees. So if you have some noise happening in there, that's expected. It's okay as that changes position. Come on up and switch. First side, second time. Get to 20. And switch. Going down, relax, head up, and lift and press 20 more times. And come all the way up to standing. Feet pointed straight ahead, standing shoulder rolls. Bring them forward and up and around. Squeeze them behind you, up and around. And backwards. We're going to do shoulder squeezes. If you have a wall that you can easily come back to and stand with your heels at the wall, butt to the wall, head to the wall, do that. If not, don't worry about it. But if you can easily get to the wall, go stand there so that you feel your low joints stack straight up and down, letting the wall be your guide. And then pinch your shoulder blades down and back, squeeze them together, and release. Squeeze and release. Keep going. Ten more. And if you're still at the wall, use the wall for your elbow curls. Hands all the way up at your temples, thumbs pointing down toward your shoulders, elbows all the way together so they touch. Relax your belly. Keep your head, upper back, and butt all touching the wall. Come all the way back. All the way in, all the way out. Big full breaths in your torso, filling up the rib cage in that east to west direction, letting your diaphragm work. Just notice, do you have one shoulder blade that works differently? We want them to be as balanced as possible. Five more. As you come back, that mid-trap and rhomboid, bring the shoulder blade towards your spine. As you come away, the serratus kicks in and pulls that shoulder blade toward your front and back. I think that's about good. And staying at the wall or just standing out there, turn your feet so that they're pointed out. We're going to go after any rotation in your pelvis that might be there. Everything's still at the wall. If you can, find your butt muscles and squeeze your glutes. Pinch them together and release. Squeeze, release. So the wall is holding you stable. The glutes help to turn the femur bone in the hip socket. And if you have one knee that goes in like I do, then one side of the butt doesn't work as well. That changes what happens when you're walking. So being able to find your butt muscles and use your glutes to both turn the leg bone outward. When the leg bone then sits in the right place in the hip socket, then you get that little bit of hip extension when you're walking that's necessary instead of a twist. So just feel it. Give me 20 more. Are you getting the same contraction on both sides, squeezing your butt like you're crushing a walnut? Pinch it and release. Really get in touch with what's actually happening in your body, where the glute attaches to the leg bone and to the pelvis. Ten more or so. And then bring your feet to straight. Now, hopefully we have better alignment between the pelvis and the leg bone. Stay with your glutes, 20 more squeezes. Now that your legs are straight, you can have a little bit of a softness in your knees. So don't let your thighs come into this, just the glutes. Squeeze and release. And again, make sure both sides are active. About 10 more. Pinching those glutes, squeezing them, feeling both sides work together. Again, reducing rotation in your body, addressing compensation that might occur in the upper body or the lower body, taking any rotation out of the leg bone, squaring the pelvis with the rib cage, with the shoulders. Excellent, and release. Now come down onto your back, feet on the floor, knees bent, and come into hook lying isolated hip flexor lifts. Arms out to the side. First, just feel your body as you come down to the floor. As you come down, your pelvis should come mostly to neutral. The floor should hold you stable. Also, stability at your rib cage. Make sure your nose and your sternum and your belly button are in a straight line. And then feel your shoulder blades. Do you have one shoulder blade that's still lifted off the floor? Is the pec tighter on one side, this anterior compartment? And if it is, can you tuck it underneath you a little bit? And then go up onto your toes, move your left leg slightly away from your body, long ways, and then lift and lower that leg. We're going to do 2 sets of 30. Lift and lower, and remind your hip flexor of its job. We're also doing this on one side, and a unilateral activity has a different effect on your body than if we were to do this with both legs at the same time. So we're talking from the hip to the butt to the back, all on this left side right now, while this right side is just stabilizing. Reminding your body of the prime mover of the hip, that psoas, primary hip flexor, lifting the leg. You're going to feel that if you're doing it correctly right in the front of that hip. Sometimes it takes about 15 or so, and then it starts to get really tired. As you remind your body that this is the muscle that you should lift the hip, we get the correct spin in the hip socket instead of extra movement in the hip socket. That's what we want, this spin of the hip in the socket. And the relationship between the front of the hip and the back of your back, which are agonist-antagonist relationship, that comes back into the right balance or design. I think that's about 30. Switch legs. Up on your left toes now, right leg moving slightly away from you, telling your right hip to lift and lower. This is especially great exercise for those of us that have knees that point a little bit to the inside, medial femurs. This is strengthening to the hip. But even those of you that have knees that are going to the outside, we know that that hip isn't spinning correctly in the hip socket either. So just reminding your body of this action and letting the floor hold the rest of you stable so that there's no extra rotation right now, gives your body new information of how to hold itself while that hip is spinning. Make sure you get 30 lifts in. And again, you should feel it right in the front of that thigh. And switch legs again. Up on your right toes, left leg away from you. And lift and lower with that hip flexor. 30 more. Second side, second time. as your shoulders let go, see if you can scooch them a little bit more under your back so that, again, the shoulder blades lie flat on your back. The serratus anterior and the lat hold the shoulder blade more flat to your torso. And then take a deep breath and feel your rib cage expand. Let that diaphragm work again. And second side, second time. Lift and lower that leg up and down. Thinking again, just imagining this perfect spin in the hip socket so that there's no anterior translation or posterior translation in that hip socket. It just spins perfectly in that joint so that cartilage is maintained. You can just imagine healthy cartilage in that hip with a joint that rotates correctly. Just enough fluid to allow the lubrication that that joint needs. I have 10 more if you're with me. Whew. And both feet on the floor, pelvic tilts. So now stabilize the leg bone, let the pelvis move over that hip. And again, you want both sides to do that as evenly as possible, down and up. Flattening your back to the floor, pulling it up, feeling it pull all the way through your shoulders. Excellent. Let's go back to our arms. First, go into an external rotation of the arm bone, letting your arms go out to the sides. And just feel, as your arms go out to the side, the rotator cuff has to kick in. Just let it stay out there for a moment. And if you're here, that's okay. Just let it, the weight of your arms gently pull on your shoulders a bit. And then take 3 full deep breaths in through your nose, expanding your ribs. If you have tightness in the front of that shoulder, see if you can breathe this space into the upper rib a little bit so that that pec opens. You have pec major and minor. Pec minor lifts the shoulder blade. And so if we want that pec minor to open so the shoulder blades can drop back down away from your ears, we got to let that go. So see if you can take a breath and make space in that front compartment. One more breath. Excellent. Now let's take your arms into an internal rotation. So just bring the elbows out to your sides and imagine that you're gonna tuck your hands underneath your back, or you can, right in that space. And then just feel what's happening between the right and left shoulder. And for the arm bone to be able to rotate in the hip socket, or in the shoulder socket, excuse me, the shoulder blade has to be able to move over your rib cage. And there's a few things that can challenge that movement. A little bit of scoliosis in your upper back, just tightness on one side, again, of this anterior compartment. Actually, tightness in the back of the rotator cuff could restrict that motion forward also. So just notice here, can you do that? And then take a full deep breath and expand your rib cage again in the back. And see if you can open space between each of your ribs with your breath, and see if that can let a shoulder blade change position a little bit so that you release any tightness that might be in the front of that shoulder, one or both. And maybe your shoulders feel totally fine here. That's awesome. But most of us have one shoulder at least that's restricted in this internal rotation. So feel that balance. If you're okay with maintaining this position in your shoulders, I'm going to have you keep it here. if this is like, yo, I gotta come out of it, please do come out of it. But if you can handle this, let's go into our femur rotations. Left leg out, thigh tight, and then roll the knee out to the side with the movement in the hip, out and in, and out and in. Keep going. We're gonna use the hip to talk, so hip extension on one side, to talk all the way up to the shoulder by doing that rotation 10 times, and then switch sides. And just see if you can notice if there's restriction in the internal rotation of the arm bone, if that opens up a little bit as we do this. I switched sides of my leg, 10 femur rotations. And you can also double check your torso. If you were a little bit twisted when you laid down, that might be coming out, but it changes your back muscles and how they're engaged if you stay twisted. So you might need to straighten your torso out a little bit. In and out with that leg. And then over to the first side. What's happening? Did that change that rotation in your arm bone? Second side, in and out 10 times, femur rotations. Now, if you're comfortable just being here, great. If you need to come out of it for a minute, that's fine too. If you can take it a little bit higher up your back, more like you're going into that cow's face. So imagine that you're doing this. So just take both hands and slide them a little bit higher up your back, and that's going to increase the demand on that arm bone, only if it feels appropriate for you. But see if you can go a little bit more. It would be more in yoga, like moving toward Anjali Mudra or reverse prayer. That's a pretty big internal rotation in that arm bone. I'm on my second leg femur rotations. And then release your arms out of it. Awesome. That was big. Bring your block up over your head. This is an option. So pullovers, if you're comfortable with it, pullover presses. If it feels okay, you might need to just move your shoulders around a minute after that big internal rotation. Get your shoulder blades to come underneath your back again. Then go ahead and take it over your head. So one option is just pullovers, elbows straight, hands apart or together, you choose. And if those feel easy, then put your block up over your head and press into your block so that you activate all of those muscles up around your upper middle back. Press and release. Press and release. We're after increasing thoracic extension. I'm going to increase the demand of this one more time. Pull your knees in toward your chest. Your back is going to go more flat to the floor, but keep it kind of neutral. Feel your hip flexors and then press and release. This is just an option. You don't have to go there. I want you to feel muscles right in the creases of those hips. Press and release. So that's slight posterior tilt. This is like kind of our air bench position. And that's going to increase the demand of our thoracic extension. And then one more time, you can take those legs up straight. Now, if you have sciatic pain, please don't do this part of it. Keep your knees bent here. If you're okay with it, press your legs straight, thighs tight, toes pulled down, and 10 more presses. Press, release. That's a pretty demanding position for your upper back to let go. Is it balanced between your two shoulders? Do you feel those presses in the same muscles, or are they in different muscles? And come on out of it. Nice work. Go ahead and come to seated. Let's move into our twists. Sitting floor twist. Crossing right leg over the left, right hand behind you, and twist around. Another option is to fold that leg under. Whichever you choose, you need to be able to get both butt cheeks down on the ground. And twist. Big inhale, root into your seat. Use that to rise up. And slowly bring your spine around. Begin to separate the pelvis from the rib cage, letting the thoracic back open. Shoulder blade moving down and away from your ear. That will let you get into those muscles between the shoulder blade and the spine. And let those help you continue to twist. And with a big inhale, untwist, and then switch sides. Crossing your left leg over, right leg out straight or tucked under. Whatever you choose for that, try to root both butt cheeks down again on the ground. And then twist. Feeling those butt cheeks. Root to the ground, rise up out of that, and begin to twist your spine. Full breaths. And then the shoulder blade moving away from your ear so that you feel mid-trap and rhomboids. As they turn on, they'll help the twist happen. You have muscles down in the low back, lumbar rectors and multifidus. Two more full breaths. And untwist. Releasing out of that. Coming onto your hands and knees. Cats and dogs. Round and arch. Sinking your shoulder blades in towards your middle back. Again, shoulder blades moving away from your ears. And up and down. And then I want you just to come to neutral. Go ahead and thread your shoulders. So low belly, totally stable, low back stable. And then just sink your shoulder blades together onto your back and then push them apart. So that, again, the serratus, the muscle of the side, that turns on when you push away from you and pull down. So the end of that press up. So you can pull your hands toward your knees, and that'll help that muscle turn on. And then come out of that muscle, sink your shoulder blades together. And then as you press up, also pull your hands to your knees and feel that strength on the side body as that serratus turns on. Feel it open and release out of it. Retracting the shoulder blades, sliding them toward your spine, pushing the shoulder blades away into that kind of rounded upper back, and pull your hands toward your knees. Feel that side muscle turn on. Down, up, and pull. One more. And then hold that new stability that you have in your upper body. And I want you to tuck your tailbone just slightly so that you feel your abdominals turn on. Access these low belly muscles with a little bit of rounding in your back, just a touch. And then go ahead and keep that as you extend the leg out. Just hold it. And bring it in. Keep that activation in your low belly and extend. You may not be able to bring that hip up quite as high, but I just want these conscious action of that lowest abdominal compartment. And release. And up. And release. And up. And release. Good. Now we're going to stay with these same muscles. Take your left hand and your right knee and just hover them off the floor. And you're going to press them together. So push hand into knee with that same little bit of rounding. Push and release. And do that 10 times. Press, release. So the hip flexor is turning on with that low belly, just gently engaged. And then switch sides. Low belly compartment slightly engaged. Right hand to left knee, pushing together. Press, hip flexor and abdominals, stabilizing together, and release. Press, release, press, release, press, release. Keep going, get to 10. And then cats and dogs again, and see if you can have better access to this low lumbar area, both in flexion and in extension. And then come up to standing. Grab your, let's sit actually. Grab your bench or sit in a chair with your block and your strap. And then go ahead and put your block between your knees and just feel your sit bones for a moment on the seat. And then roll an arch in your back. Now you can decide how much arch is appropriate for you. If you know that you have a lot of arthritis in your spine, then neutral may be enough and just squeeze in. If you feel like that arch is okay, then go for it so that you're rolling forward from your pelvis, not your sternum or your chest, but just at the level of your pelvis. So you're finding your hip flexors, holding that forward, and then giving me a squeeze in with your knees on that block. Squeeze and release. So when we talk about levels of demand in our exercises, sitting is greater demand than lying down for what we're asking up into your back. Feel your shoulder blades just be even, relaxing away from your ears. 10 more squeezes. And then relax out of it. Now let's combine hips and shoulders. We're going to do sitting arm circles. So go ahead and roll forward again to the level that's appropriate for you. Arch in your back, arms into that golfer's grip. Bring them up. Arm bone into shoulder, shoulder into spine. Relax your belly. Try to find those hip flexors as much as possible for what feels okay to you. Then circle forward, 20 circles. And release. And then again. Squeeze. And backwards. Find those hip flexors. Find the adductors. Use those muscles to help you roll that hip forward. And release. And then remove your block. Grab your strap. Place your strap around your knees. And then once again, the level of extension that your body can handle. So rolling that arch into your low back and pressing out. Now, if you know that extension is not okay for your spine, stay in neutral. Stay right here. You'll still get good activation in your hips and strength in the pelvis, movement of the femur bone, all of those things without pushing too much on your spine. So know your body. For those of you that extension feels good and gets everything to be in better alignment, go after that little bit of extension. Press and release. Shoulder blades relaxing down your back. Feel the muscles on the outside of the hip that pull out those abductors. And abductors are different when we're sitting versus when we're standing. The bend at the hip, or where it shortens on one part of it, changes how powerful the abductors are, or which ones are working. Good, relax out of it. Again, you choose your level of extension. We're going for arm circles again. Arms out to the side, pinch your shoulder blades together, down and back. Pull out on that strap. Now, what we're looking for is bilateral extension up the spine into the upper back, between the shoulder blades, or even neutral pelvis and getting that through the thoracic back. That would be fine. Find the level that's okay for you. And circle forward, 20 circles. And release. Palms up. Squeeze, arch, pull out, backwards. and release. Release your strap. And let's go after some rotation. Bringing your leg up, getting it to hook over. See if you can do it with no hands. And then rotate that leg outward. If you need to just straighten that other leg to do that, stay with the same leg. Lift, rotate, hook it up there. You can bend that knee if you need, if you can. Open that hip, sitting tall, and release. Let's do 3 more on this side. Up, rotate, deep hip rotators working, and release. Up, rotate, one more, and just hold it up there. And switch. 5, lift, turn, hook it up there. Feel the difference between the 2 sides. And release. Lift, turn. If you need to help it out a little bit, you can. That's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hold it up there and just breathe. Big external femur rotation. Big rotation in the hip socket. And again, a little different sitting than when we're hook lying or with the foot up on the wall. Just more demanding in your upper body. See if you can just allow your shoulders to relax. And release out of that. Downward facing dog pose. Coming down onto your mat. Tuck your toes under. Press up and back. You decide if you're going to do it with your knees bent and work on your upper body, or if you can straighten your legs, you can drop a heel. And then release out of that. Come onto your back for foot circles, point flexes. One leg straight. Pull the other leg up into your chest, shoulder blades down and back. 20 circles all the way around. Reverse. Point and flex. And switch sides. Big circles. Reverse it. Point and flex. And then release. You can be in hook line all the way out, legs up over your block. You decide, come up to seated, however you'd like to be for your short meditation today. Come to whatever position you're going to be in and just allow thoughts to drop back, tasks, anything that has to happen later in the day. And just feel your body all the way from your toes to your nose as sensation. And notice that to feel that sensation or to hear what's happening right now or to feel your body against the floor, all of that is just arising in the present moment. You're not doing anything to notice, to witness all that's right here. If and when you notice a thought arising, just come back to the sensation of breathing. And today I want you to just move to the heart center. And just allow your own body to be kind of flooded with the sensation of love and kindness, with healing, so that every piece on the cellular level knows exactly what to do to bring harmony and perfect health to your body. When we move from that heart space, we have compassion for ourselves and for the people around us. And that we can use this space to just visualize that we all have this opportunity to take a pause in our reactions and to shift from a head space to a heart space. So your homework today is to notice that if you get triggered, your humanness gets triggered, take one moment from the head space and shift to the heart space and show up in the moment and see what that changes. See if you can do that. And feel the ease of your body as you do that. The health that gets restored as you do that. Go ahead and take a big full breath. And if you'd like to stay in that space, just turn off your computer. If you'd like to gently come back around for a moment to visit, please do so.